I hunt for a living. Deer, elk, bear. If it can be hunted, and if it's legal, of course, I've probably already hunted it. No, I don't do it for the fun of it. I'm not one of those guys that'll get their game taxidermied and then mounted on a wall. I do it because it's a necessity of life. Most people around the world eat meat, and well, someone's got to hunt some of the animals down to provide food and sustenance to those that don't have time to hunt the animals they want to consume. Yeah, most people don't typically find themselves eating deer, elk, and animals of that sort, but there is a big market for it. Bigger than you think. And they pay well. Which is a bonus. I've got 3 kids and a beautiful wife, and I do anything for them to live a stress-free life. We did well for ourselves. My wife is a social worker. Doesn't get paid that much, but with both of our salaries combined, we were able to live comfortably. However, things changed after the worldwide pandemic. The economy tanked, and people were making a lot less, and the demand for a lot of animals I hunt greatly depreciated. It's been 3 years, and there's no signs of things getting any better. With the amount of competition, I found myself making almost half of what I typically make. My wife, bless her soul, has been doing a lot of the lifting lately. I've even gone to my local community college to try and pick up a new trade. The oil industry, as demanding as it is, seems to be an option I may have to explore. In the meantime, I'm working as much as I can to do my part as a provider for my family. The holidays are coming up, and while my wife always reminds me that it's not about the gifts, but the holiday spirit, still, I must admit, I like buying them gifts on such occasions. We've raised our kids well, and it's not like they're expecting the latest iPhone or the hottest games, but still, to see the smiles on their faces when we're about to show them how much we appreciate them with a gift. It meant a lot to me as a kid. I don't want the tradition to continue, and continue the tradition I will, even if that means accepting jobs I wouldn't normally do. There have been reports of people going missing here in Bozeman, Montana. It's been an ongoing thing for the past 3 years now. Officials weren't quite sure what to make of it at first. The first disappearance was of an elderly man in his 70s. He suffered from dementia and would attempt to run away from his caretakers at times when he had his episodes. After a 4-day search and no sign of the older man, police officials and investigators were convinced that he had run away and gotten lost in Montana's vast wilderness. Being that they could never find him, they pronounced him missing and presumed dead. Upon the family's request, a funeral was held, and the case was closed. However, 6 months later, there was another disappearance, this time of a junior college student named Love. Her family stated that she had no history of mental illness, was a straight-A student, and loved the outdoors. She had told her family that she was going on a hiking excursion with her boyfriend, Adam. Little did her mother, father, and little brother she left behind know that would be their last conversation they would have together. The news followed their case closely, and the public grilled the police for answers, but the police weren't able to make too much sense of it. The town seemed ready to hang the boyfriend Adam after assuming he had something to do with it. However, police described the grisly scene of the crime, and everyone immediately knew it wasn't Adam. In fact, Adam, who notified police, had witnessed the entire thing and was reported to be in a fear-induced trance and was unable to speak. A leaked autopsy report indicated that limbs were torn off, that several lacerations were found all over the victim. Large portions of love were violently ripped off. The report also included a detailed description of several conical-shaped teeth imprints all over the victim. In addition, it noted that the body was found in full rigor mortis. Hence, the time of death was at least 15 hours before Adam was physically and mentally able to make the call to the authorities. Which begs the question, what did he see? Until now, no one knows. The words of the report that haunts the parents and everyone who saw the report the most were: victim likely experienced high levels of pain before passing out and experiencing traumatic asphyxia due to intravascular coagulation. Whatever was responsible for doing this disappeared without a trace and has claimed several more victims since. With no luck at capturing the creature responsible, the victims' families have turned to the help of their fellow civilians. With the help of the mayor and governor, they put out a reward, $250,000, in the capture of this creature. Many have tried, and so far, all have failed. Not being able to find so much of a trace, the state of Montana has a name for the creature now. They call it the Wraith. Now, I'm not the greatest hunter in Montana by any means, but I am a desperate man with a mortgage, 3 kids, and a wife who need holiday presents, and I've made it my mission to catch the Wraith, to bring peace to the families, and of course, for the reward. The time is 3 a.m., an early Saturday morning. I've been hunting this Wraith for about 3 months now. I haven't had any strange encounters. I haven't found any tracks and don't have any leads. Most people would have given up by now. In fact, everyone has given up, especially since it's winter. The frigid temperatures is a deterrent, but also the several feet of snow and sudden blizzards make it really dangerous at times, which is why I went about prepping several cameras and mounted them onto trees within parts of the southern Montana wilderness. The areas I chose weren't random, but were near several victims of the Wraith. Every morning, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., I spend my time waiting and watching the camera feeds. If one goes out, I drive out and replace it. I drive about 30 minutes south on Highway 191, since the cameras I installed aren't too far from that location. It must have been about an hour later. I had fallen asleep while flipping through the camera feeds on my phone. Suddenly, the sound of beeping wakes me up. I immediately turn on my phone and look at the video feed. The time was around 5:30, and the sun had yet to come out. Luckily, I had infrared cameras which detected a heat signature. The heat signature was hard to see due to the amount of snow which suddenly decided to come down, but I recognized it immediately. It was not a monster, but human. What person in their right mind would be out during almost blizzard-like conditions at a time like this? Whoever it was, they certainly had a death wish, especially with the rumors of a creature looming about. The heat signature would eventually disappear, and I would see no more action for the rest of that early morning. It was around noon when I had decided to visit the Western Montana Mental Health Center to speak with Adam, the boyfriend of the second victim. It was a good 2-hour drive due to the snow, but I've been making it a habit to visit Adam once a week to speak with him. He's never spoken back, but I figured I'd be persistent. Also, truth be told, I feel bad for the kid. He had his whole life ahead of him, and now it seems as though the horrific event he witnessed would derail his life completely. On top of that, I was told that I was his only visitor, and that his family had even given up on him. I just so happened to catch Adam while he's enjoying his lunch at the facility's cafeteria. I sit across from him and dig into my own lunch, a ham and cheese sandwich with a side of ranch and a small bag of Lay's potatoes. What do we have here? Oh wow, you're having pizza today. Nice, nice. You wouldn't be willing to trade now, would you? He doesn't reply. I don't expect him to, but I like speaking with him, having these conversations, treating him like a person, even though it's one-sided. Oh, I'm just joking, kid. You know, the holidays are coming up, and I have no idea how I'm going to get my wife and kids stuff without dipping into our savings. Yeah, I know. I shouldn't be digging into the savings any more than I already have. But it's an important day. Speaking of, I never asked, but are you wanting anything? Yeah, tell me about it. I know how hard it can be to decide on something. Hell, I don't even know what I want. Suddenly my phone starts to beep. One of the cameras were picking up motion. I yanked out my phone and opened the camera feed. The connection was choppy, but thanks to the daylight, I was able to make out a man dressed in a thick white jacket and a scarf covering his face, standing directly in front of the camera. Shovel in hand, the man starts to hit the camera. What the hell? Can you believe this guy? I turn my phone around and show Adam. Immediately, Adam's body and facial expression change. His fists clench, and his body tenses up. Tears start running down his face. His eyes widen, and for the first time in years, he speaks. He starts screaming. I place the phone down and try to relax him. It's okay, Adam. Everything's okay. You're safe here. Hey, I need some help here. Staff immediately come over to help, taking Adam away. Before completely being removed from the cafeteria, Adam turns and looks me dead in the eyes.
Don't trust the man in the white scarf.
Then, he's silent again. I can see the monotone expression overtake him again. The sad, tired eyes, the slumped shoulders, and the look of emptiness. I stood in the cafeteria, shocked and trying to soak what just took place. One thing was certain. Adam recognized that man, and he was afraid of him. The heat signature from earlier this morning belonged to this man as well, and this was the second time my camera came across him. Coincidence? I think not. After 3 months of hunting, finally, I had something to investigate. Normally, I wouldn't have really batted an eye, but due to Adam's reaction, something told me this man was somehow involved in this whole Montana Wraith myth. I looked back at my feed to see the camera was no longer working. It was camera 4, located just an hour away from where I was at. Being that I have a few cameras set up, I don't remember the exact positioning. However, I use an app to help me track down my cameras. This way, I never have to worry about losing them or them getting stolen. Luckily, the tracker on this specific camera wasn't broken, and I noticed that it was on the move. I considered going to the authorities with all I knew, but If the man truly knew something about what happened to the victims, I had to be the one to question him, so that I would receive the reward for its eventual capture. So I hopped in my truck and made my way towards the direction of the camera. About 30 minutes into the drive, the tracker on the app disappears, meaning he must have destroyed the camera. I drive as far as I'm able to, but then have to abandon my vehicle and proceed on foot. I wouldn't normally do anything like this, especially not alone and in this much snow, but I felt I was close to something. I was layered up and put on my snowshoes to help me with the trek. Eventually, around 3:30, I was able to make it to the last known location of the camera. I looked around for any tracks, but the snow had already covered them ages ago. So instead, I proceeded to walk in the general direction of where the tracker seemed to be moving towards, before it cut out. It was freezing. The snow had started to pick up, making it even harder to see, even with my visor I had on. I couldn't hear anything. A thought suddenly creeps into my mind. If someone or something were to attack me now, I would be completely hopeless to defend myself. The hunting rifle I had around my neck and the handgun I have would be rendered useless, since I can't really hear anything but violently rushing wind. Finally, in the distance, I see what looks to be a large property surrounded by a metal fence. In the middle of the property sat a large estate and a large red barn. The fence that surrounded the property were the ones designed for looks and not for actual protection. I was able to throw my hunting rifle over and hoist myself up and over the fence. As I made my way towards the mansion, it went without saying that whoever it was that owned this land was wealthy. Most of the mansion seemed to be constructed of glass and possessed an abstract and modern feel and look. The architecture was beautiful. The snow made it look magical and almost distracted me from my main focus. However, from the corner of my eye, I see a light illuminating from the secluded red barn on the right side of the estate. I changed my course and quickly, yet stealthily, make my way towards the barn. As I get closer, I start to see the faint traces of footsteps on the snow, coupled by the fact that the door to the barn was slightly ajar and the light being on. It was safe to assume that someone was in the barn. I take the safety off of my gun and slowly make my way into the barn. The sound of wind and snow is now dimmed, replaced by the sounds of horses in their stables. They were majestic equestrian horses, their beauty undeniable. Though stunning they may have looked, the smell of their manure filled the air. At first, I placed my forearm over my nose, but I slowly grow used to the strong smell. I take notice that one stall was empty and that the gate to it was left wide open. There was a faint trail of melted snow leading to the stall. Walking towards the stall, I see a trap door left wide open with a large bale of hay beside it. This was no doubt used to conceal the trap door when it was closed. In addition, I'm able to hear the faint sounds of a voice emanating from the trap door. My heart begins to beat faster as I walk down the staircase beneath the trap door. The voice grows louder. I can hear chains jingling.
I don't know who set it up, but this camera is proof that we need to lay low for a while. You must learn to resist your cravings. I know it's painful, but until I find a cure, you must try and be good. Keeping you all here It's for your own good.
I finally descend the steps to see something that tore apart what I knew reality to be. The world I lived in was a lie. Monsters are real. A man wearing a large winter jacket stood in front of 3 scrawny creatures with white fur, long arms, large, bulging eyes, bound in large chains, feasting on a full-grown horse. Their monstrous faces were painted in crimson red blood. What was I witnessing? They all began to suddenly sniff at the air and, in unison, look straight at me. They begin to snarl and growl, trying to break free of their chains and attack me. I aim my rifle at them as the man in white turns around, completely taken by surprise at me being there. What on God's good earth is going on here? What the hell are those things? The man in white gestures his hands towards me in a calming manner, though in this moment I felt there was nothing that could calm me down.
Please, don't shoot. I can explain.
Don't take another step forward.
We mean no harm.
The man turns around and places his arms around the creatures, embracing them and telling them to quiet down, which they surprisingly do. In that moment he turns, looking me directly in the eyes.
This is my family. They're all I have. Please, don't take them from me.
I can see the pain and fear in his eyes as he looked at me. It was as though I were the monster. I lower my weapon and climb back up the stairs. At this moment, I was either making the worst decision possible, or there was more than I knew to the story. The way the man shielded his family from my rifle, it was nothing short of what I would do. I pictured myself in his shoes. The man eventually joins me at the stables, closing the trap door behind him and placing the bale of hay over it. He stands a few feet away from me, sensing that I didn't trust him, nor did I want him getting too close to me. That's your family down there? I ask. He shakes his head yes. Tears start to come out his eyes. Yes, the people that have been going missing, they're responsible. Again, he shakes his head yes.
But not willingly. Every winter they transform into these things. Unlike myself, they have no control over it.
So, you can also turn into that as well.
Yes. And it's the only way I've been able to subdue them when they turn. Doing it alone is difficult. And at times, I'm too late. I'm sorry for all the harm we've caused.
Why don't you go to the authorities? Ask for help.
Going to the authorities would only make them want to hunt us down, experiment on us, and eventually kill us. We've been through this before.
The stable is quiet for a moment as I think. Even the horses are silent, as though they can sense the tension. Should I shoot him now and report the others to the authorities? I would collect my reward, and the other families would have justice for their loved ones that were killed by them. I seriously contemplated, but the humanity left within me couldn't go through with it. Listen, if I hear about any other disappearances, I'll have no choice but to notify the authorities. You should probably leave. All of you. With that, I exit the barn and leave his property, and I drive home. I needed a shower, a warm meal, and a long nap. It looked like I'd be pulling from our savings again, after all. Two weeks went by since my encounter, and I didn't tell a soul. I went about my days like I usually do, without of course searching for the Montana Wraith. In fact, I had taken down all the cameras and erased the recording of the scarfed man from my cloud. My focus now was providing for my family through acquiring other skills. One day, as I drove back home, my wife came running to me with an expression of shock on her face. She was holding an envelope in her hand, which she promptly handed to me. According to her, a man in a nice car drove up to the house and said that they wanted to show their gratitude for my help, and that this was goodbye. My wife didn't really understand it, but to me, I knew exactly what it meant. The nice car most likely belonged to the family with the large mansion and the red barn, and the goodbye meant that they were leaving. I opened the envelope, revealing a check. The number I saw, followed by the number of zeros, made my jaw drop. I won't disclose the amount, but let's just say we won't have to worry about buying holiday gifts for the rest of our lives. Till this day, I don't know who that man or his family was, but it's been 2 years, and there haven't been any more disappearances. I think about them almost every day. I really hope they're doing well.